I'm not going to bore you with all these cuts, but I do want to show you my setup here. I got my blade tilted 1 degree, and knowing that I need the inside edge to be the long edge, that's why it's facing up. So I've got a stop set up. I've got one of my wedges here, and I'm going to use the same wedge for all the cuts. And I just place my board against the stop like that. My fence, my cross-cut fence is square to the blade. And we're ready to go. And then I've got my mark here at 3/4 of an inch. So I'm just going to cut all 4 of these. Like I say, put them back on my table and measure again and see where I'm at. And then we'll go from there. But let me get these cut up. Like that one, well, it removed that little nasty divot I had. You know, so that's nice. So let me take them now. I've got nice clean edges here. And then I've got a little bit of a taper going. Let's see if I can show this to you. Hang on. It's hard to see, but the taper is going up so that when I tilt it in, this will be more flush to the tabletop. So I set it at 1 degree. It should have been 1 point, whatever the heck it was, 1.2 or 3. I don't even remember anymore, but we'll see how it sits together now. Okay, that looks really good. I'm happy with this result here. So by doing that, I made this a little bit wider, but that's okay. I'm going to take from the top. I did another measurement, and I'm just over 36. But then, you know, like I said, I have to add the thickness of my top, which is about 3/4. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take 1/2 an inch off of the top here. So I'm going to remove this half, doing that same 1 degree bevel. This time the outside face will be up because of the bevel. You want the bevel to go that way. So I'm going to take 1/2 an inch off, call it good. That'll give me a little playing room to mess around with the bottom of my feet here to get them flush to the floor, so the top ends up being nice and parallel. So that's what I'm going to do next. The same procedure, only this side up, and remove 1/2 an inch, and then we'll be back. All right, here's a quick little jig I just set up. When I put my taper going this way, with the short end here and the wedge in between, it will not hit my stop. It sticks out too far. Took my piece off of my tri-square, my right angle piece, and since I don't want it to hit the floor, I'm just going to clamp this right here. Just a little snug clamp, and now I can use this as my stop. I mean, I could put a block in here too, I suppose. Let me just see if I had. This would probably have done the same thing. Clamp a right angle piece in there. I don't know why I reached for this. That's too long. Yeah, it's too long. I've got it set now, but there. Just so it doesn't hit the floor. Okay, ready to make those cuts. Okay, got my cross pieces cut here. I got to tell you this, I ran them through my planer. You know, got them nice and clean on both faces there. Ran one side through the joiner, squared everything up. Then ran them through my table saw to cut them to width. ran them both, and I'm like, what the heck's going on here? I forgot to switch my blade back to 90 degrees. I still had that 1 degree taper on there, so I ran them again, squared them up, and then ran them over the joiner again one more time to take those saw marks off. So what it ended up yielding for me was just a hair under 2 1/4 wide, 7/8 thick, and roughly about 33 inches long. So I'm gonna lay out my pieces so that I can do a half lap here like this. Let me get this thing out of here. I don't need this anymore. So I'll lay this out, make my half lap, join these two together, and then come in here and center it up and make my marks out here so I can drop this into the middle of my table here. Then the other thing I want to do then is take my, oh, that's the wrong way, this way, take my leg and cut my pieces in here, cut a dado in here to accept this, so I can then drop the leg onto this assembly and see how that's going to work out as far as you know, being stiff and solid, you know. So, but anyway, let me get this set up. I want to get this cut with a perfect half lap, so I'm going to use my my Bridge City dado, well, what do they call that thing? Let me grab it here. My kerf maker. So you set this, first of all you set your blade width, and I think I've got that set for 100 thousandths. Let me grab my setup jig here once. This is my setup block for 100 thousandths blade width, which is what the blade that I have in my saw right now. And this, this was set for an 1/8 inch blade. So you loosen up this adjusting portion here. Let me see if I can get this so you can see it better. And you drop that down to get your 100 thousandths. And then you open this up and measure the width of the piece you're cutting. Right after you answer the phone. And then you set your width of cut by doing this here. So that takes into account the width of the blade. I'm going to tighten that up just a little bit. There. So that takes into account for the width of the blade, and then see how this one fits too. That's good. That's a nice snug fit. And you just put it on your saw, using this as one stop and this as the other, and then the width of the blade has been accounted for. So let me get things set up here, and we'll see how that's going to work out for me. All right, I got my layout marks on this board, and I hope you can see this. But there's my jig against my stop, and I've got it dialed in to my adjustable stop, I should say, because that helped me dial in that line. So it's set for the first cut, and then let me bring this up to the blade so you can see what's going to happen here. And I've got my blade set to about half the thickness of the board. So that's going to make that first cut right there on that line. Then when I move this jig out here like this, you can't see it, but I'll show it to you. And then butt this up, it now has compensated for the width of the blade, and I'm on the outside edge of this line. Right there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start on this side and then move out to this one. And I'm just a hair off there, aren't I? That's okay. Let me dial that in a little bit. Right there. I mean, I've got extra board to work with on either end here, so it's not that critical, but gives you an idea. So now I'm on this line, slide my jig over, and now I'm on this line. So we'll start with this one here, because we're going to start with this one, the outside, because that's the there's the least amount of contact between the jig. So now let me just show you here on this end what you're missing. So this is now registered to the far line. I slide my board over, bring this in here, and now I'm registered to the inside line. So that's how that's going to work. You know what? Yeah, that's okay. I was going to say this end is not exactly squared up, but we're fine. I'm registering off the same point here, there. So let me make these cuts. Let me back this out so you can watch this, I guess. Where's the blade? There we are. And we'll see how this works out. What I should do is, and I will do this, I'm going to lower the blade and just take a little quick cut, and then I'll check it against this board to make sure it's going to be the fit I want. And if that's the fit I want, then I'll go ahead and change the depth of cut. So we'll just do this little quick pass here. It's a nice fit. I like it. Alright, we'll continue with this one. I'm going to change my depth of cut to half the thickness of the board. Just eyeballing that. And if I go a little further, that's not a bad thing either. Let me just see what I got for I'll make a mark here. 2 1/4, 1 1/8. The eyeballs are pretty good. Okay, let me I made that cut without my safety glasses. I gotta find them here so I can put them on. little tap. That'll be perfect. That's as strong as we can get right there. Put two pieces of wood together like that. That's great. Where are we here? There you go. Let me zoom out a little bit. Well, there you have it. Nice tight joint. Okay, I'll put this on my table now and make my marks for my cut marks on where I'm going to center it up on. Okay, centering up my piece here, I'm using these lines that I know to be 90 degrees. So what I've done is I've got 3 tri-squares, pushed them up into these connection points here, and I'm just eyeballing the distance in it, and it looks pretty darn good to me off of center. I then move this one over here, and that's about as close as I can get right now anyway. So what I'm going to do is, the only other method I could think of was to put a 1/4 inch pin in here, like so. It would have to be tall enough to reach up to this. And then I could put a square on the pin until I was sure that I was centered over that hole. I'm thinking I might try that method as well, but I don't know what I can use for a pin. I don't have any more dowel stock. I'll have to see if I've got something I can use. But that would be easy enough to locate a hole here, a 1/4 inch hole, by just making an intersection there, and then drilling a hole through that. Let me try that. I got nothing to lose really. There's my intersection. This I flipped it over, so this is the bottom. I'm going to get my scratch awl and make a mark there, and then we can drill this hole, and I can figure out what I'm going to use for a pin. All right, I'm going to take this to the drill press, drill a 1/4 inch hole there, maybe, I don't know, 1/2 inch deep or so. We'll see what we got. See what we have, I should say. All right, I couldn't find anything that was going to suit my needs that was long enough, but I did have this steel locating pin that I took out of my dowel jig, and I put that in there. First I made sure it was 90 degrees to the board, and then I just dropped it in here, and I've been checking all 4 sides like this off of this pin to see where my the edge of my square here, if it's landing on the edge of the hole, which it is. And I check all 4 sides like that, and it's coming right down on the edge of the hole. So based off of this is now centered over the hole. and I've got it located where I want. Well, maybe I don't. It's not that, it really doesn't matter where it's located, but I think I want to turn it just a little bit this way, which I will do. Oh, the one other thing I have to tell you is this with this sitting on top of the ring, it would not, there wasn't enough clearance to get under here, so I had to shim this up on all four sides, just about, whatever, 2 credit cards width on both sides. So I'm going to take and I'm going to spin this and to get it more close to dissecting these blocks. Not that, like I say, not that it's that important, but I'm going to do it anyway. So let me spin this a little bit to right about there, somewhere in this neighborhood. And then we'll recheck. That's good. That's a little off. You got to come back this way that much. Right there. Okay. Okay. This side should be good. There we are. Let me just one last check. Yep. Okay, so now I'm centered. I'm dissecting and centered over the hole. I'm going to clamp this right here. I'm going to take and make some marks. Let me pull these shims out a little bit so I can make my marks. Right there. I'm going to have to check this again, aren't I? There. That's pretty good. Okay, now I can make my marks. Now these are going to be a little bit long, I can see by the way the angle of my pencil here. I gotta go to this side. Okay. Let me flip it over and check and see how my marks look. I am gonna, I should have made marks on this too. Well, let's just do this. This is gonna be 1 and 1, 2 and 2, 3, 3, 1, 4, okay. Okay, got good marks. Now I'm gonna, and these are, these are a bit rounded, but I'm gonna cut them square to the outside edge and see how they fit. Well, it went with just a little persuasion, but this is too tight. It's just way too tight. So I'm going to take and just nibble off a little bit. Actually, probably just sand it off. And what I'll do is probably just round these edges over just a little bit, so that it, right now it's hitting the outside edges on these four corners here. So that way it'll slide in a little bit easier. So I'm going to make a little mark here like this. And all I'm going to do is just take this pencil line, I think. And that should give me plenty of room. So it is dead nut center. I'm looking at these lines right here that are coming through here, and they're going right into these vertexes. Except this, well, I probably rotate it just a little bit, but it's so close I'm not going to worry about it. So let me get this out of here, sand it up a little bit, and put it back in, and then we'll locate our post on this.